morning, everybody. I thought I'd hit myself a little Peruvian marching powder. It's the thing. It's something, there's a YouTuber that I watch, Games for Kicks. He goes by Kicks on his stream. German, but he lives in Ireland, so he has this Irish-German accent that's absolutely delightful to listen to. And I watch him play 7 Days to Die, which is a game I play quite a bit, a zombie survival horror game that I play quite a bit, open world build stuff. Every 7 days a horde attacks you, so you have to build your own horde base in order to hold back the horde while you shoot them with all the bullets and whatnot. So, and it's a fun game, but I watch him play it. He wasn't the first person I watched play it, but he's definitely the most consistent person. I'll just spray my hand, hang on. And it's just delightful, and his accent is just absolutely wonderful. Just great to... I'll have to find that later. I don't want the cats to get it. I think coffee's bad for cats. But thought I'd do the Peruvian marching powder, which is probably not very culturally sensitive, but still, it's a funny thing to say. Found it. Spraying those beans works great when I remember to do it. And that grind consistency is pretty good. Yeah, I didn't reset it. This time I'm going to reset it before I put water in it. That's smart. Otherwise, I think I have 450 grams of water when I really only have like 340 grams of water. So that was kind of funny. However that worked out, it worked out that way. So it's going to be a uneventful weekend, seems like, so that's good. So many weird... The CEO uprising thing is happening again, it seems like. It seems like anyone that owns a business is trying to remind their employees that without the CEO, they wouldn't have a job, which might technically be true, but without the workers, the CEO wouldn't have a product. You know, that's the whole... The CEO has the concept. He or she hires people to put forth that concept and work through the details. And then after 5.5 years, decide to lay off the people that were the architects of their business and then regret. So I'm, you know what? I will be bitter for a while longer. I mean, it's only been a year and a half, but still, you know, I'm still aggravated at the result of my old job where I was laid off. Not this past January, but the January prior. Myself and several other people were laid off from a finance company. My job to the department was important. My job to the company apparently was not, because I was easily picked as someone that to be laid off. And then called back 2 months later because I was necessary and they couldn't complete their jobs properly and do my job as well. But it was not enough to justify a bump in pay that I thought was reasonable. And instead they gave me a small pay raise and said, you might be able to reach what you're looking for with the yearly bonuses that are not guaranteed, yearly bonuses that if we do get are not guaranteed to be 100% of that bonus that we are assigned. You know, and then bonuses are not only taxed to hell and back, they're also subject to deposit into the 401k. So that was a fun thing when I got the one time I got my full bonus. Not only did taxes destroy it, but the 401k took a decent percentage of it. And I didn't want the 401k to take any of it. That is to no benefit of me. And that's an argument I will have. A 401k is to no benefit to me. It just isn't. I would rather have the money on hand now in order to do what I would like to do now, rather than only have access it after I'm crippled and unable to move, or ill and housebound, or heaven forbid, non-existent anymore. I mean, it's just it's like what those things seem to guarantee to me. It just guarantees that the only time you'll be able to use such a thing is when it does nothing for you but maybe prolong your life a little bit, and I mean, if you can't move and you can't do anything, well, what's the point of that? I 401ks, I don't get them. I don't care for them. I think it's a lot like washing powder. This is another crazy, weird ass little rant that I have in my head every once in a while. I put all of my laundry in all at once. I don't separate whites and darks for several reasons. One, my whites are older than my oldest nephew, and so are most of my darks. So it's like, you can separate them if you want. I just don't see the point, especially now that we have supposed washing powders that are safe and gentle for both, and nothing happens when you wash them together. The only time I've ever had something bleed together were towels that you could wash together, and they color changed. So, I mean, I think the whole separate lights and darks is just to sell more washing powder or washing detergent by big detergent. I mean, that's my conspiracy theory. So 500, thank you. That's my conspiracy theory. It's the same with the 401k. It's like gambling. The house is always going to win. And, if you happen to pass away before you can use that 401k, where does it go? Well, it goes to the next person, and then they pass away before they can use it. So, I mean, it's basically just investing for everybody else while you sit there and just watch the number change, And then when you hit the age where you can use it, you're too old to do anything with it. I mean, sincerely. I mean, there are those cases where people are fit and well and can go on cruises and can travel the world and whatnot, but that's not the rule. That's the exception. And a lot of people, a lot of us, work jobs where we are using our bodies to move stuff or reach for stuff, or constantly painting, drywalling, promoting radio stations, moving big speakers, that kind of thing, working venues, hearing, with bands, I mean, it's just there's just so many things that by the time you hit the point where you can draw from a 401k, the only purpose that serves is just to maybe prolong your life a little while with, better medications or whatever. I mean, it's just silly. You'd be hard pressed to change my mind. 401ks just seem silly, and they're not meant for us. They're meant for us to put money in so that businesses can gamble with it and earn money themselves, and then get interest back for having that money in their bank. And we just don't see much of it. It's like if I wanted to pull out everything that I have in there right now, I would lose half of it. I mean, what's the point of that? I can't have half of what I put into that damn thing, because then it will be taxed. I don't know. I haven't. It's an angry rant today. I just thought about it today. It's just, what really set me off was LinkedIn is a cesspool of stupid anymore. I mean, I don't know if it was better or worse before, but if, the posts have just gotten worse and worse. And some individual said how upset they were when they telephoned someone for an interview and they answer the phone saying hello, rather than introducing themselves as who they are to the person that they don't know to whom is calling. Introducing themselves with how may I help you? No, I don't know who you are. You're calling me on my phone. Hello should be sufficient. It's been sufficient for a very, very long time. But no, it's not good enough. You are lucky that I am calling you, so you should address me properly. And it's like, ugh, absolutely gross. It's disgusting. It's like horrible, absolutely horrible what people will force you to go through or want to force you to go through in order to get a job, when the point of the job is to supplement their workforce and work for them and make their job easier. Jobs are, it's just a weird market. Every time the employee gets any kind of ground, the employer pulls it back. Unions are a good thing. Fair pay is a good thing. Not stealing employees' tips is a good thing. You watch the CEOs and the business owners get richer, and then you're sitting there doing your best with what you have, and the manager tells you that they can't give you updated programs or updated equipment or more staff because they're running a profit. They're running an extraordinary profit right now. And to do so would eat into said profit, and that would be bad for the employer. So the employee either must leave and find someone who might, at least for the first year, give them the resources they need. And then, of course, the minute they make a profit, start making a decent profit off of that. And that's kind of how, it's kind of how, I don't like bragging, but that's kind of how I progressed through my jobs. I did jobs well, and there was little to no issues. There was only one time I had an extremely difficult time acclimating to the job that I was given. And one of the reasons why, and I don't like to brag, and I also don't like to push blame off onto other people, because I like to own up to my mistakes. I would rather own up to a mistake immediately so that it immediately gets fixed, rather than letting it sit and fester and then trying to figure out different ways throughout the years to cover that shit up. But the only time I really ever had a problem was when I was working for the body shop. And as much as I really enjoyed the company of my boss, he was a super nice guy, he was not a great teacher. And 2 weeks into my training, doing a job that I had never done before, which was estimating body damage, he takes vacation, which is fine because he should go on vacation, absolutely. But I was the only estimator in that particular shop, and it was like a 3-shop group. So I was the only estimator, the person who had the least amount of experience ever estimating body damage. And, I was left at the body shop, and some of the customers were fine, but there was a point during that time when, and we did body work for the Hertz rental company in that area. So Hertz would bring the cars that a client had wrecked or dinged or scraped, and we would fix them. They brought a totaled vehicle into the auto body shop. And I'm like, what the hell do I do with this? And he says, well, they need an estimate and they need it now. And I'm like, the dude that does this is not here. And he said, well, this needs to be done now. And of course, I don't know anything. I don't know any better. I don't want to mess up a reputation, because I'm new and I want everything to work out well. So I wrote up. I mean, the kind of car was identifiable. We had all the information, and I did as much as I could. He said, can you hurry this along? And I'm like, no. You want me to total out a car? This is the first time I've ever done it. And he says, well, I have, because they have to get 2 estimates in order to total a car. So I have the previous estimate from the last place. Do you want to look at it? And, I don't know the legality of that. I don't even know if there is a legality of that, to be honest with you. Odds are I would have found the exact same problems had I been a seasoned person. So I looked at the estimate and I fixed it. I did exactly what I was told to do. And he seemed happy and went on his way, got the car out of there. I'm like, we can't do anything with this. What am I supposed to do with this? And then one of the body shop guys really pulled one over on me when a truck came in, the bed had to be fixed. I'm like, I asked them, and I shouldn't have. I should have went with what I felt, but I asked them, I said, is this repairable, or should we get a whole new bed? And he said, oh, it would just be easier to get a new bed. And the boss came back and he says, why did you get a new bed? I said, well, I asked the shop person because I didn't have any other frame of reference, whether they think they could do this or not. And he says, well, you shouldn't have done that. And I said, well, I didn't know that. I've only had 2 weeks worth of training, and then you went on vacation. So I don't know why someone wasn't left to check on me. I don't know why someone phone number wasn't left so I could bounce stuff off of other people. I understand that we're busy, but I don't know what you want me to do here. So it was that was probably the worst job. I liked some of the people I worked with. I technically liked my boss, really, but it was jarring and nerve-wracking, and I think I lost the most amount of weight. We had uniforms, and I know I had to change uniform sizes like twice because it was so stressful. And I think I was only there for like 3 seasons. So, it was, and then they had to ask me they had the main supervisor guy who I had only seen twice came and said, we're going to have to, this is not working out. And I said, no, it's not. So I still worked for the company though for another, year and a half. I moved back to receptionist at the car dealership that was attached. Well, the auto body shop was attached to the car dealer. The owner of the car dealership also owns some auto body shops, and I think that's long since gone. But it was pretty nightmarish, and then, because that was all physical labor, which wasn't bad. It was actually a lot of it was, sometimes it got to be fun because, some of the cars that came in, the scratches, dents. I mean, the majority of them were scratches or small dents that could be just pounded out. So that's an easy estimate and an easy write up. And then you just estimate the hours, and that's what the computer's for. So there were a lot of those type of things. And then there were some ones that came back because the previous work was bad. There was this dude with a BMW. And there are several of these stories that I will never forget. But the guy with the BMW came in, and it was the previous employee before me had, wrote up the estimate. They put the bumper on. It was an aftermarket bumper. It wasn't even a BMW bumper. And it had backup sensor dimples in it. And the BMW didn't have backup sensors, but the bumper had sensor dimples in it. And he came in and he said he wanted the dimples smoothed over. And we're like, that's not exactly a thing to do, especially since we opened the trunk up and he had this subwoofer that was this big in the back of this BMW. So any filler we would have put in those dimples for the backup sensors would have vibrated itself loose. As it was, there was no filler behind the bumper because he told us to install it as is. So the bumper head sank because there was no filler or no structure behind the bumper. It was just like this terrible plastic bumper that he had painted to match the car and then bolted to the back end, and it had sank. So he wanted that fixed. And we're like, I mean, that's a defect of the product. That's not a defect of the service. You need to go back to the product maker and do something about that. I mean, we did everything that was necessary and we could do and we were told to do. So there are a lot of stories. There was this guy, his kids really, it was college kids that came in with a Saturn L something. It was a wagon. Saturn wagon, and apparently it had been sitting for a minute after he ran it around a pole while he was drunk, and we were doing all of the business with his father over the phone, and the kid was an awful kid. He was just, and when we opened up the car door, it had been sitting for a little bit, and there were snuff cans and pizza boxes and food, and it was just rotten on the inside. And the detailer says, I'm not touching that. So we had to get someone to come in and actually deep clean the inside to get it viable to be fixed. And then it was please put the pieces on and you don't have to spray paint them kind of thing. The father was very kind, was too kind to the son. The son was incredibly disrespectful to his father, even while we were on the phone talking. He's like, what will it take to get it back on the road for him? And I'm like, a hood, a fender, a new radiator, and a deep cleaning on the inside because it's absolutely disgusting. So it's a wild thing. It really, really is. It's really wild. That was the only job that I never got anywhere with, really. That I did not add anything to the business. Oh, what a mess. An absolute mess. Well, that's enough. That's enough for today. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Thank you for listening. I will be back next week. It will be a new week. I'm sure it will be as boring as this week, which, you know what? Sometimes boring weeks are great. I don't mind. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. Get a cup of coffee and we'll talk to you later. Bye.